The word we're hearing from the border is this. There is a caravan of 10,000 migrants that are coming. They want Joe Biden's welcome to the USA package, free phone, free baby formula, free plane ticket. And what is Joe Biden doing? Well, opening the border. He is not enforcing the laws that are on the books.
Migrants, 10,000 in a caravan coming across. That's Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. You probably know that already. That's last year, 2022. Talk about the impending arrival of a huge caravan for Biden's free phones and jet plane tickets. If they're on a caravan, why do they need plane tickets? Don't ask yourself these questions. It just makes sense. But I'll tell you a little secret. No caravan ever came. It's all made up. But you know, that's Marsha. She has a long history, just the oddest comments. I'll give you an example. This was one of my favorites. This is during the pandemic. This is a virtual Senate hearing with the CEO of Google. Listen to her important questions she asked in this important hearing.
Is Blake Lemoine, one of your engineers, still working with you?
Senator, I'm familiar with his name as an employee. I'm not sure whether he's currently an employee.
Okay. Well, he has had very unkind things to say about me. And I was just wondering if you all had still kept him working there.
Yeah. A guy who worked at Google, a specific engineer, had been mean to her on social media. So she took her time during a Senate hearing to ask the CEO about a single employee of the hundreds of thousands of Google worldwide because her feelings were hurt. Well, now it's 2024. Mitch McConnell is going to step down as the minority leader. And of course, Marsha has pins about that. You know, she has figured it out who she's looking for. Here's her most recent clip. Talk about the race for the minority leader.
And who do you want to see in the seat?
I want to see somebody in that seat who can actually give a strong message to the American people about what we need to do to save this country. I want somebody in that seat who's going to say to Donald Trump, I'm going to be your partner, I'm your wingman, let's get things done in the U.S. Senate. That is what I'm wanting to see because we have a country to save. As a mom, as a grandmom, as someone who talks to Tennesseans every single day, this is what they want to see. This is what they're wanting me to ask for in a Republican majority leader for the Senate.
All right. We will be watching that.
Yep. You heard that. Don't worry about separation of powers. Marsha wants a wingman for Trump. She wants the Senate to work for Trump, much like the RNC is working for Trump right now. That's Marsha Blackburn. You know, but this year, she's up against a ferocious opponent who was thrust on a national spotlight by the overreach of the Tennessee Republican Party. State Representative Gloria Johnson is a retired teacher and represents Knoxville in the state legislature in Tennessee. She was one of the so-called Tennessee Three that were punished for protesting after the devastating school shooting in Nashville at the Covenant School in March of 2022. I've been a fan of Gloria's for some time. As many of you who've watched my show know, I lived in Tennessee for many years when I was in the Army. I've been really eager to get down some time with her and sit down with her. So let's just get on with it. I am Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy, right here in the Midas Touch Network, and this is In the Hot Seat. Gloria, man, I'm so glad to have you here. I've been wanting to connect with you forever. Thank you for taking time in the middle of your crazy legislative session, plus running for Senate, plus running for your old seat. So welcome to the Midas Touch Network. It's so great to connect with you.
Thank you. It's great to connect with you as well, and I appreciate you having me on.
Great. Now, before you came on, I had a couple of clips of, Marsha Blackburn. She's we all a lot of us tease her. She's a uniquely bizarre character in American politics. From her oddball comments she makes, her hiding from her constituents, and her support for the most extreme positions, it seems like. But with all that, you've got a lot going on. You've been in the legislature for quite a number of years. You've dealt with a lot of the crazy there. What made you decide to run for this Senate seat now?
I mean, it is time that we have to shift power back to the people who work for a living in Tennessee. Yeah. Because currently, Marsha Blackburn is only working for lobbyists and special interests and billionaires, the wealthy and well-connected. She's not working for regular Tennessee families. It's just, that's not where she is. She's voted against capping insulin prices, voted against negotiating prescription drug prices, voting against the child tax credit. Tennessean deserves a senator who works for them.
Yeah, it's about time. And she is famous for that. I saw the clip just the other day of her being pursued, by a guy asking about the money she got from pharma, opioid crisis, and of course the gun lobby. So it seems like she has really lost touch with her constituency, right?
She has lost touch, and she talks about going on a 95 county tour, and she's in a closed door meeting with 4 to 12 folks. I mean, that's it. No town halls. After session is over, which will probably be the end of April, we're going to be headed out. We're going to go to all 95 counties in Tennessee. We're going to talk to all voters. It's not going to be only Democrats. We're going to get out there, talk to Democrats, Republicans, independents, have open questioning, really let people know what we're about. Because so much of our state, they're just not getting the true message of what Democrats are fighting for. We are fighting for gun sense legislation. We are fighting for women's bodily autonomy. We are fighting for higher wages. These are the things that families need and want. And instead, they're just voting no on everything. And we have a senator that sides with absolutely everything Trump wants to do.
Right. Yeah, as we mentioned at the top, she wants to have the next Senate leader be a wingman for Trump. So she has made it very clear where she stands as far as that movement goes. And you're facing some crazy stuff down there. She is one of the senators that pushed for a national abortion ban. I think when she was still in the House, as a matter of fact. Tennessee has been ground zero for the fight for reproductive rights since the Dobbs. I believe you tried to pass a bill just last week to protect contraception and family planning, and it was voted down by the Republican majority. This is a big issue for you and for women across the country, right?
It's huge. Tennessee is one of the worst. We have one of the worst abortion bans in the country, bar none. And the only things that is excused for life of the mother is ectopic pregnancies and molar pregnancies, which don't become fetuses. So, it's not even, that part of it isn't even real. Doctors are at risk. If the woman's not close enough to death, the doctor's at risk of 15 years in prison if they provide an abortion when they deem it's necessary for the woman. And we have already seen, Marsha has already made comments about contraceptives and about coming after contraception. So yes, last week, I brought a Bill of Rights for contraception for women in Tennessee. And we also have a release tape from ProPublica. It's an audio tape of Right to Life folks speaking to members in this House and saying, oh, well, don't come after IVF and contraception yet. Give it a year or so after Dobbs. But we have already got them on tape saying they are coming after it. She's indicated that she leans in that direction. And it is absolutely insane to me. 90% of folks want contraception. And if you're taking away all of women's abilities to plan their families and remove certain contraceptions, we actually had a physician talk to one of our, someone who was just going to visit his office about our bill, say that that an IUD ends a pregnancy. And it absolutely does not do that. I mean, we have folks that have no information and they profess to have this knowledge, but they just absolutely don't. It's dangerous to be a woman or a 10-year-old girl in Tennessee, the way they want to force a 10-year-old to carry their rapist baby.
It's just terrifying. And of course, we talk a lot on here about these, what do I call the second and third order effects of these bills and of these national abortion bans and these restrictions. And what you just mentioned, a doctor being, could be fined or even thrown in jail. Well, the answer to that then is they just won't stay, right? You'll have a brain drain and you're from Knoxville. That's, if for those who don't know, Knoxville's in the eastern part of the state. It's the mountains. It's beautiful, by the way. I spent a lot of quality time there. But those are the old time hillbilly regions. So they already have limited resources as is. Are you worried about this effect where there'll be less OBGYN clinics, doctors, and others that can actually help practice?
There already are. They're already leaving the state, especially those that deal with difficult pregnancies. We lost our top 2 experts to other states. They moved within the first 6 months. because they feeling they would be targeted because they see more patients like this. So they have to perform more of those services for women. And so the other situation is if you want to come to be a resident here in OBGYN at the University of Tennessee, you can't get certified from your experience here. You'll have to split your time in another state in order to get certified. So here in a state where we have more than 50% of our counties with no delivery center and no OBGYNs, we are creating a bigger gap there. It is ridiculous. They have no foresight. They are thinking about today, and they have no idea what they are doing in this state a few years down the road. What they're doing to women and girls.
Well, that's around women and family. That's the thing. I mean, the goal here is to have healthy babies. That's the whole thing. Save the baby. But we're going to kill more children and babies because we don't have effective health care for the mother during their pregnancy, and children will not get born healthy. So it's a terrifying signal.
2 weeks ago, I brought legislation that, I mean, I don't like exceptions for abortion. I want to codify Roe, but I will bring one if I think surely they will do this. And my bill in Tennessee, you cannot consent under 13. So 12, 11, 10, 9, let's make an exception for rape, because if you are 12 or under, it was a rape because you cannot legally consent. You don't have to prove anything there. Let's do an exception for that, because kids at those age are two times or more likely to die with that pregnancy.
Oh,
killed it. They would not pass it. Wouldn't pass it.
Of course. Now, the whole Nation watched as you and your two colleagues were attacked, the Tennessee Three, as you've come to be known. But all began with the worst mass shooting in Tennessee history, right? The Covenant school shooting. And then there's that growing frustration with Republican intransigence around any kind of gun safety. Tennessee, I live in Missouri, has some really loose gun laws, and that's affecting public safety. I mean, how do you want to address that as a senator, and what do you think is possible?
Well, I won't be taking NRA money, and I will be working
That's a good place to start.
Common sense gun laws. I'm carrying a bill this year for a red flag law to get the guns out of the hands of dangerous people, a safe storage bill, and a bill that requires you to report lost or stolen guns, because we have just an uptick to huge numbers, the amount of guns stolen out of automobiles. And it's because people just lay them there because we passed bills for guns and cars and everything else. And so it's leading to a lot of people who shouldn't have access to firearms to have them. But then we're doing nothing about removing firearms from people who are dangerous. This is temporary, and we just have folks that will not listen. But we lost 6 members of the Nashville community in that Covenant shooting. That's Evelyn, Hallie, William, Cynthia, Catherine, and Mike. We're not going to forget that, and when I was teaching in Knoxville at Central, we had a shooting where one student shot another student and we lost one of our kids. Anyone who's seen that and seen the fear and the terror on the kids' faces as they're running down the hill, leaving that cafeteria where it happened at Central High School that morning in 2008, I'll just never forget the kids running down the hill screaming. These are high school kids, but they are screaming and they're scared, running into my room. Kids that weren't even in my room were running into my room, and just trying to calm them down to even find out what happened, because they could not even speak. They were so traumatized. And why should children ever have to go through that? That Tennessee sees guns as more important than children. And that's it, the Tennessee legislature, rather than addressing the gun violence problem, they decided to expel members who wanted to speak up about gun violence. That was their first action.
And that leads me to, I guess my last question is, what we're seeing increasingly in the Republican Party is an authoritarian bent. There's this, just today, I think the day we did this interview, I think Trump was caught saying that, people who don't agree with him, his political opponents are worse than our foreign enemies. They're the real insurrectionists. They're traitors. It's a very short view to see us being jailed. You've dealt with some real authoritarian stuff. You talked about this attempt to expel you. Of course, your two colleagues were expelled and brought back. you've been dealing really up on the front lines of this authoritarian stuff, not being allowed to speak. I mean, what's your view on that movement as you see it you've been dealing with it?
It's really something, because when I first started, I first was elected in 2012. In 2013, we had a female speaker, and we had a supermajority. But I can say that I was never not called on. I never had my mic cut. Debate was allowed as long as debate wanted to go on. But since 2018, and since we have had these Republican male speakers, they're really terrified of having debate, of people finding out how bad the policy actually is. That's the only thing I can figure. But they started out in when our first speaker in 2018 or 2019 got indicted and had to leave. Then the new speaker came in, and when they voted for him for speaker, I was the only one in the body who did not vote for him. I wasn't voting for someone who didn't share my values, who kept Tennessee from expanding Medicaid. Not going to vote for somebody who does that. I'm not going to vote for someone who tries to keep the bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest in a place of honor in our capital. I'm not going to do it. So I was the only member to vote against him, and I was given a closet for an office.
Wow.
Literally, we have 99 member offices in this building, and I was giving a closet with, not only did they give me a closet, but across the hall, was the empty office. The office across the hall. I look out my door of my closet and see the empty office across the hall. They don't just stick the knife in, then they twist it. And that's twisted to me. It is. It just shows how terrified they are of dissent, and they must stop it. They're misogynists, but they especially hate a woman who speaks out and speaks up no matter what. And calls a lie, and calls somebody who tells that lie a liar. And my two other colleagues are just these brilliant young Black men who are speaking truth to power, and they absolutely can't stand it. Oh. I mean, one of their members actually said to me, after I remained, Justin Jones had been expelled, and Rep. Pearson was up for his hearing. One of them came up to me and said, it's the way he's talking. I'm like, I love the way he's talking. What is your problem with the way he's talking? They say the quiet part out loud. It's not a stretch to call it what it is, racism.
And we're getting there nationally. Now, with all that, it's been a great quick talk. The most important part you have to ask any candidate: where can they find you? Where can we give you money?
So you can find me at votegloriajohnson.com. That's my website. Twitter at votegloriaj, and votegloriaj, I think, at most of my other social media as well. And something super exciting is happening tomorrow. So be on the lookout, because Nashville musicians are involved in this campaign, and there's going to be a really cool new song release. Wow. And it's going to be with Grammy award-winning artists, and they are ready to speak up about making sure everyone registers to vote and make sure that their voice is heard, because democracy is on the line.
It certainly is, and you're up against one of the most important candidates. So, wish you the best of luck. I know you got a hill to climb on this one, and there's lots of hills in Tennessee, and I know you're just ready to climb them. So, just thank you for taking it. There's get to work. Well, thanks for taking time with us. Thanks for being on the Miles Touch Network, and just best of luck, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep.
Bye.
Man, another great conversation. I'm a big fan of Representative Johnson, and I hope she wins this great Senate race. She's putting up a heck of a fight. We'll be presenting many more of these interviews, as you know, as you've seen a few now. Call them the Hot Seat Conversation with candidates and newsmakers. So I hope you'll join us. In the meantime, catch new episodes of my show, On Democracy with FP Wellman, every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Miles Touch Network. Stay in the fight. We're fighting for our democracy. We'll see you soon.